JaMarcus Russell, on a recent interview of The Pivot, said he was dealt a bad hand by the Raiders. Um, Listening to his story on that episode, um, it sounds it. I mean, the NFL, they always say these pro leagues are, it's a dog eat dog league, really. And I think he found that out firsthand. But he say when, he really hit rock bottom is when, a relative of his was sick and, he just couldn't get his mind right. I think it was his uncle or something that he was real close to. And the funny thing about it, I saw a recent interview of Asante Samuel, and he was saying when he was in Philly, he had the same problem. Yeah, I think his mother had like ALS or something, and the team pretty much was like, "Hey, we need you back here." He like, "Bro, what part of my mother is sick? What are you not understanding about it?" And they just was like, "Hey, we'll fly you there and back every night, or we'll fly you right after practice and pick you up from the airport, whatever." And it's just, hearing both of their stories, it's like they pretty much want you to figure it out. They like, look, this ain't our problem. And it's unfortunate that these human beings are thinking that way. But I could see how he was dealt a bad hand. They want to say, hey, he didn't perform to his capacity or to the best of his capabilities. But if someone close to you is dying or sick, somebody that was your superhero or you looked up to as a kid, that can weigh a lot on you. So yes, you're not thinking about, although this is your job, you're not thinking about it. So I could see how he was dealt the bad hand. What about you, John?
Um, so I agree with you in a sense. Like for the most part, yeah, right. Like in theory, we would all like to be able to take time off, but like when a relative is sick and needs us and all that stuff. But like my job's never let me take off for my uncle. You know what I mean? Like it had to be like
That's true.
my wife or my dad or something like that. You know what I mean? Like they weren't like, oh yeah, you can have a week or two off because your uncle. Like so, you know, that's every job. I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just saying like that's everybody. You're not alone in that. And then my other thoughts are like, he had certain addictions and all that stuff and whatever, and he was having struggle dealing with them. But also, like every Browns player knows what he's going through too. When he talks about like they expected me to win games, but like there was no talent around me, and I'm sitting there thinking that's what happens when you get drafted number one or overall. That's what Trevor Lawrence. We just saw a terrible season from Trevor Lawrence, right? I mean, a guy who was supposed to be the next Peyton Manning or John Elway or whatever. Like it was not fun to watch but you believe in him that he can turn this team around with time. Now, you can argue that the Raiders never with time got him pieces, but I mean, you had other quarterbacks who were much less talented than him when he was sitting out that would come in and win games. So they were like they still didn't win many, but they won more when he was not quarterback than with him. So there's a lot to debate with that. You could argue strength of schedule, all that stuff. I'm not gonna get onto that. But like that's an expectation when you're drafted number one overall. Like, listen, our team is trash. Turn it around. We're not saying Super Bowl next year, but like turn this team around. So I mean, again, he's not alone in that either. Every Browns quarterback knows what that means, right? Like you're handed a garbage hand, like because you got drafted number one overall because they believe in you. So I appreciate and I'm glad he's telling this story. Who's the guy that Kwame Brown. Whether you
Mhm.
agree with him or not, I'm glad he's telling his side of the story now, all these years later. Like I'm glad these guys are doing this.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna say one thing, and this isn't a shot at him, but I'm gonna say one thing. He said that his life is a movie and deserves a movie, and I'm gonna movies aren't written about guys who struggled and had addictions and didn't succeed. You know what I mean? They're written about like I want his story to be out because I think somebody out there can learn from it. I think it's a good story, and I think a lot of coming up players could learn. Like, listen, these are things that can you could be on top of the world one day and then on the bottom tomorrow if you don't handle these situations, and you understand that the league is not. They don't have you in mind. You're not their number one priority. Like they have, the league, the shield is the priority. So you got to keep that in mind. Like, yeah, they don't care about you. Like, unless you're
Yeah.
making money for them, they don't care about you. So I think his is a good story and it needs to be told, and maybe it'll get a book or something. But I'm not, I'm not gonna. And again, it's not a shot at him, but I'm not gonna go watch a movie about a guy who had addictions and his family struggles and all that stuff, and then in the end was 50 pounds overweight, sitting on his couch at the end of the movie. Like, that's not a movie. So I don't know what he thinks is, like a movie is, but I mean, yeah, I enjoyed listening to it. I really did. I think he had some very insightful stuff, but it's a bummer the way it turned out because he had so much talent. I will say one thing, last thing before I go out, because I don't like it when people set up sting ops for people. Now, listen, that doesn't mean he shouldn't have lied. He was still lying because apparently that story is true, right? It's always been the story that they handed him a tape, DVD, said, go watch this tape, come back, tell us tomorrow. He came back the next day and was like, oh, yeah, the defense, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, yeah, that CD's blank, right? I don't like it I think police shouldn't be able to do that. I don't like when people do it with their kids. You buy a noisy cookie jar so you catch the kid sneaking cookies. Like, I don't like that stuff. Like, listen, man, if you catch the kid, you should discipline them, but like you shouldn't be trying running a sting op on your kids and stuff. I don't like that stuff, but you can't. But you still did lie about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not innocent in this either. So I agree. Like, I don't think the Raiders handled it properly, but it's not like he actually was honest with the team and upfront with the team ever. So I don't know. It's a bummer, but I did enjoy listening to his story.
Well, what you got, bro?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I agree with both you guys. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about a business, man. It's either like John was saying, either you gonna work for me and show up, or not, or I can fire you for not showing up. And pretty much, I mean, I won't say they fired him, but I mean, bro didn't show up. So I mean, you went from having probably one of the best, college football careers. That one year, I should say, I think he had like 28 touchdown passes or something, and like only like 6 interceptions or 8 interceptions or something like that. And but yeah, like John was saying, bro, like you're dealt that. I can't really say you were dealt a bad hand because, bro, you're the number one pick for a reason. You're going into a bad situation already, so it's like you have to. It's pretty much a process that you have to take within these years. I know it's not going to happen 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, maybe not even maybe 5. But at the end of the day, bro, they were paying you big money, big time money to be a number one quarterback for a Raiders team, which I say wasn't the best, but I mean, I don't really feel like he gave them the chance to, bring in pieces either. So at the end of the day, I get it. You know what I'm saying? It's tough that you lost your uncle or whoever it was that Nico said that he was. But my thing is, if I'm in that situation, I want to use that as motivation anyway. You feel me? So it's like, okay, my dad might have cancer or uncle might have cancer. Shit, you're going to need money to pay for them hospital bills, bro. Regardless, you know what I'm saying? I hate to look at it that way, but I mean, why not use that as your motivation to be like, okay, this person is sick, blase, skip. I got to do what the hell I need to do to make sure that, hey, I'm good, he's good, the family's good. If, something happens, funeral service, whatever. But, I mean, I definitely don't think he deserves a movie. I mean, he can definitely tell his story of telling these young players what not to do, of course not, your first year. And, but other than what he's doing right now, I really don't feel like he deserves much. I mean, I feel like you just gave up, bro. Like you let the media control your path. Honestly, let's be real. You let the media control your path. So
I mean, there was another thing he said that they were fining him for being overweight, and he didn't appreciate that. But that's another thing is like, did you not read your contract? Like
No,
that had to be in your contract.
Well,
I
no,
really think
it's
this
not
guy.
that.
No,
He
but he
said they
didn't.
were No, he said they were finding him for stuff that he didn't know about. He said he was getting fined for being late to breakfast or
No,
something
but
like
hold on,
that,
no,
and
no, no,
things
no, no.
like that.
So hang on. So he was getting fined for being overweight because he had to
Right.
weigh in. He had to weigh in after breakfast. So then he stopped weighing in at breakfast and would tell him, "Oh, I forgot to." So they would fine him for forgetting to. And again, maybe he did forget, but I'm sorry. Like, you're getting paid to do
He was
this.
getting fined. It seemed like they were being petty.
It seems like like I said, I think it was both ways. I because he did come in way overweight. That had to be in his contract. I'm sorry, like there's no way that wasn't in his contract. So I don't think if he didn't know, then he didn't read his contract. Like I really think, and he says it. He says there's guys who sit there and watch 12 hours of tape, and I can go out there and whoop them. I don't need to because I'm good enough to beat them, and that's fine. I'll give him that. But I think that he really believed that with everything he did. He just trusted his guys to handle his contract, his agent to handle his contract. He never read nothing. He didn't watch tape. He didn't do. He admitted these things. He didn't do these things. He just wanted to go out and play football, and I get that. That's fine. But like, this is how a lot of NFL players get scammed out of money and other things by dirty agents. Like I'm just saying, like if you're really looking out for your life, man, you got to know these things. And it just seemed like he just wanted to play football. And by the way, we all do. I would love to just play football, but it's at some point, man, you got to focus on, you got to pay attention to other things in life. And it didn't seem like he was.
Yeah, I think it's both ways. I think
I agree. I mean,
the
yeah.
Raiders were being petty, and he just was a young kid that didn't know what he was getting into.
I'm about to say
Because
it's just
nothing in life can prepare you to be a starting quarterback for the in the NFL. Nothing.
Agree.
So I think it was just one of them things.
you can say that, but I feel like he also didn't give it time for him to even develop into becoming, you know what I'm saying,
That too.
a leader or a starting quarterback
And
for that.
he even said the year he got drafted, they traded Randy Moss. So he didn't even get a chance to, at least throw a pass to Randy Moss. Who's to say, that couldn't have went, that couldn't have been something, a professional he can rely on.
Yeah, but Randy wasn't staying with them even if they brought Tom
I'm
Brady
just
in. Like
saying in
he
general.
was out.
I'm
But no,
just
I
I'm just
agree
saying.
with you. I agree.